What is going on, everybody? We are back once again with another edition of Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast. It is Saturday, July the 27th. We're fresh off another episode of SmackDown. We're going to break it down today. Happy Friday, everyone. Stoked to be here as always. And I've got a sweet crew hanging with me, very similar to last Saturday, so get used to this. We're having some fun on Saturdays. First and foremost, though, I got to send this one out to New York because not two phones, but two shows today. The GOAT herself, Megan, is in the building. What is good, Megan?
Hi. Happy Saturday to everyone. Happy Collision Day. Even though this is a SmackDown show. Hope everybody's well. Hope everybody is healthy. Just if I sound a little dragon, I had a pretty interesting night, so I'm being a trooper, but I'm just happy to be here.
Absolutely. Stoked to have you as always. And yes, Colliders Unite. I'm stoked for Collision too. I'm going to watch the UFC, then Collision. It's going to be a combat sports extravaganza tonight. Couldn't be more excited. And I do apologize to our UK friends over there with the start time on the UFC. That is going to be hilarious when the main event makes the walk at 4 a.m. But neither here nor there. Let's send this one out to Philadelphia. Head of Opinions, good friend of mine, Anthony Ricciardi. Good to have you back as always. How have you been?
Yes, it's great to be back. Obviously, this is my first daily of the week. Obviously, we obviously going to cover SmackDown, and let's just have some fun.
Absolutely. Let's get right into it. Let's talk about our first topic. We've got the tag team gauntlet. So we've got the Good Brothers. We've got Pretty Deadly. We've got Legado. We've got the Prophets. We've got even a bloodline representation here. Apollo Crews and Baron Corbin won this gauntlet. And I don't necessarily know if they were my first pick of anyone in the match. But I enjoyed this match so much. I have no problem with the gauntlet thing when used properly. And if we're going with Apollo and Baron, let's go with Apollo and Baron. I'm cool with that. They get the win. Number one contenders. Absolutely. That means something. And we're going to see a legitimate tag team run. Megan, I'm going to go to you first. I want to get your thoughts on the gauntlet match and the tag team picture as a whole.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I'm a little confused because I thought they had gotten eliminated.
They did. The bloodline won. Sorry, Clark.
That is the biggest mistake I've made.
But you literally had me looking up and going, I thought
the bloodline won the match. Oh
yes.
Okay, wait a minute.
I thought so, but
no, you're gonna laugh so hard. I watched this match. Is the worst part, and I just took notes, and I had the elimination order of notes done, and didn't write the last one down. So I'm looking at my notes, cruising along.
Yeah.
As soon as it came out of my mouth, I was like, wait a minute, I don't remember them standing tall. And it started to kind of like click in. And
can
that is one of the greatest whips of my life. I went full read the teleprompter Ron Burgundy.
The teleprompter literally says bloodlines next for DIY.
No, I wrote my own, though. I did the handwriting thing.
Can I tell you, when you were going on that whole thing about Corbin and standing tall,
confused.
I'm literally I'm like, please don't call me first, because I don't know what I'm going to say now, and I'm like, no, he is wrong. Thank God he
I've never I deserve to be laughed at for this for weeks on end, and I will not be offended if such. The worst part about it is I was like excited about the bloodline getting the win, like the Gorillas of Destiny and everything, and like in my head when I was actively watching the match was like, oh yeah, no, can't wait to get into that. I can't do notes. Notes is the worst thing for me. I'll just read them, especially like because I cut them off early.
You really are Ron Burgundy.
I had elimination by elimination written down.
Yeah.
And then just stopped at the end of the match.
Mm-hmm.
So at some point, there's multiple teams left. I just kind of picked one on accident there.
I know.
Let's be honest with ourselves. One.
No.
Megan, can you break that part of it down?
Yes. Okay, I got you, Clark. So, as people saw in the beginning of the show, at first the Bloodline was going to have to forfeit, but our new tribal chief had a different plan, and so he, instead of Tongaloa,
yeah,
there you go. Jacob came in and he took over. He took his spot, and they pretty much just outranked everyone. The final tag team that they faced was the Street Profits, which was my first choice, but we're talking the Bloodline here, so kind of knew that the Bloodline was going to take this dub. We knew they were going to take this win, and excuse me.
No, you're good.
But when it comes down to the Bloodline going up against DIY, I'm here for it. I don't know if I believe that the Bloodline is going to take this win. Just for the sake of DIY just won the titles. They just took the titles off of Grayson and Austin Theory, but the Bloodline is they're so ferocious and they're so dominant in their matches. I cannot see them losing. I can't. So if I was a betting woman, and I'm definitely going to bet that the Bloodline is going to take the belts off of DIY.
I'm with you 100%. It makes perfect sense. I think the Bloodline are next in line for sure. And also the good news is, if you didn't already know that I've got ADHD before, you definitely do after our opening segment. I'm just saying that was one of the funniest segments in show history there. Whoops. Okay. The Bloodline, I'm in complete agreement, should win. I actually had a broader point about the fact that I loved that Corbin and Apollo teamed well together.
Yeah.
That I did intend to mention and just messed it up on my own notes. Maybe I need to start typing instead of writing. I'm not 100% sure, but Megan, I'm with you on Bloodline over DIY for the belts, especially down the road. Anthony, your opinion on the tag team title picture, and take your time to make fun of me if you have to.
No, I got to be honest, just so you know, when you threw me so much by throwing out the wrong team that won, I'm like, if he calls on me first, my emergency response is, well, everyone expected the Bloodline to take the titles off of DIY right away. Maybe they gave it to Corbin and Apollo because they'll let DIY retain once. But obviously that's not the case. One of the things we've talked about multiple times, Clark, on probably other shows, and maybe on a Saturday show, tag team wrestling as a whole in the business, not just WWE, seems to have taken a major back burner. Like, I don't think the Bucks have defended the AEW tag titles since they've won them in April. I don't believe, unless I'm completely mistaken. WWE's tag titles have not really mattered much. Last Saturday, you and I watched Slammiversary, great tag title match in TNA. But like, the tag team wrestling has really taken a major back burner. I did like the fact that you're doing a gauntlet match was at least a showcase of going, hey, we actually do have teams. Even if we're not like showcasing, an emphasis on tag teams, we do have them. So it leads to the question, well, why aren't you showcasing them if you have them? Which this was evident of that. But going into it, just like a lot of matches, if you kind of know who's probably going to win, like going into it, the moment they went, oh yeah, Jacob Fatu's in this now. Okay. You knew it was Bloodline. I found it very interesting that they didn't go Tonga Loa, and I'm kind of thinking WWE's got buyer's remorse on that one. And we're like, yeah, we can't do it. So they went this route. I mean, Jacob alone could tear apart DIY alone and win the tag titles by himself, to be perfectly honest.
He and Nicholas might make Nicholas a 2-time champion if they give him the right opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those situations where it's a shame because I think DIY are really genuine, nice guys and a great team, but yeah, they're getting steamrolled over in favor of this because, again, they're probably going towards the USO route, like I've said previous times. I do want to say I loved the music and the intro for Jacob Fatu. Just the tone of the music and the pyro, just like done in a certain, like, it's menacing. Like that, like if like seriously, like that guy's scary enough as it is. I think the only way DIY retains, the only way they retain, is if the bloodline goes so savage that they get disqualified for the
100%
pure brutality. That's the only way DIY retains, in my opinion.
I had a buddy of mine that is a big casual wrestling fan that saw Jacob Fatu for the first time pretty recently on WWE. He's been watching, but he's very casual as a fan.
Yeah.
And he looks at him and he goes, "You know, someone's really good when they scare kids." Yes. Jacob Fatu scares kids.
Jacob Fatu will scare an adult if he looks at them the wrong way. I mean,
scary. Like it's the level of violence is upped as soon as he enters the equation, right? As soon as he enters the chat.
In a lot of ways, he reminds me, even though I know he's not his kid, he reminds me of Haku. Because Haku had that look that, like, he just had a look at you, and you were like, well, all right.
I mean, I think about Mangin Barbarian from the WCW days.
Yes.
That tag team, like, I don't know if you could be more physically and visually intimidating.
Yeah.
In the seriousness that they bring to the table. It's not just about the stacked with muscles or the look or anything like that. Not that they aren't muscular or anything in that regard. It's the visual intimidation and it's the facial expressions, which I think is one of the most overlooked things in wrestling, right? Jacob Fatu has some of the best facials in all of wrestling.
Yeah.
He can give you one look and tell half a story. And that's something that you just don't get often.
That is absolutely a family trait too, with that entire dynasty, that whole line. Like I don't think there really is not a member of that family that hasn't really mastered that. Like, you know what I mean? Like mastered the art of storytelling just by the face. I mean, I'm sure there are a few, but like for the most part, it's very few members of that family have not mastered that.
It's so true. I mean, even it's interesting to me the only one that I would even single out would be Rikishi because of the Too Cool and the dancing. But then wait a minute. He did it for The Rock.
Yeah. I you know who I thought you were going to go? Was it Manu that was part of Orton's stable with Cody and Ted DiBiase, who didn't pan out? Like, he's one of the rare ones that have not, didn't materialize in the business. I mean, even
it's interesting too, because showing the creative, if you look at the bloodline as a whole too, I mentioned Rikishi, but I mean, Rosie playing the superhero alongside the Hurricane.
Yeah.
The creative ability on top of the physicality, athleticism, storytelling. This is something once in a lifetime, for lack of a better way to put it. Like, we won't see this again, where you have this big of a family that is this inclined, this talented, and this able to impact the wrestling business. I think this is the last time we'll see something like that in our lifetime, truly.
When you think about it, like Cody Rhodes' theme music says, there's more than one royal family professional wrestling. And
that's
there
what
are
he's talking about.
There's a number of those families, but it's very hard not to look at the Anoa family and that line as, no, that's that legitimately could be the royal of royal families in wrestling.
Honest to goodness, they could induct just the last names Anoa'i and Fatu into the WWE Hall of Fame, and I wouldn't complain. I wouldn't.
Yeah,
that's completely fair.
They're all going to be in there anyway.
The last names. You could just do it that way. And it would make sense to me. Let's talk about our next topic though really quickly. Let's talk about LA Knight. Yeah,
Mhm.
against Santos Escobar.
Mhm.
This one, I really do know what happened. LA Knight, BFT, he goes over. And the best part about it is, it's maybe the worst part about it. We get Logan Paul. Logan Paul, lays the boots in, drops a frog splash. Who said he could do a frog splash? I don't know, but it is a pretty frog splash. I can't knock him for it. When it comes to that, if you are going to use that move, at least do it well. And he does deliver the move well. I'm excited about this matchup. I did not in a bazillion years expect an LA Knight Logan Paul rivalry to last as long as this has.
Mhm.
This has got to be the final chapter. We're at the end of the book. We're
Right.
running out of pages. Like we're
Yes.
starting to bookmark it towards the end.
Mhm.
You can see what's left, right? There's not much reading
Mhm.
when it comes to the rest of this, but I do like this to continue it. Finish this at SummerSlam for real.
Mhm.
I just got to ask you, Anthony,
Yeah.
if at SummerSlam the result looks like LA Knight standing tall over Logan Paul,
Mhm.
or if we're sticking with social media when it comes to this belt.
I've been saying this for months that LA Knight was the guy. I at least back from Mania on. Prior to that, I remember being on shows with you, Clark, and saying that LA Knight was the guy. It was the logical choice. LA Knight's the easily is got the crowd behind him. Logan Paul is so easily hated. It's not hard for him, whether that's intentional or not. I mean, he's able to get heel heat even more than you, Clark, and it's just him just being in a room gives heel heat. I mean, he has that reputation. So I mean, and it works because the opposite to that is LA Knight. So when you have a yin and yang going against one another, it kind of works. This match, I enjoyed it. I thought it was hard hitting. It was competitive. It reminds you of going, what are they doing with Escobar? Like, he's a tremendous talent, but like it's the never ending. We don't know what to do with him. So we just put him out there. It's the Apollo Crews situation where it's like, we don't know. We need somebody. That's yeah. So you knew going in, LA Knight was going over on this. I was surprised the Logan interference did not cost LA Knight the match, which is very rare when that happens. But you know, it's an ideal scenario because you figure LA Knight's going to embarrass Logan Paul in front of his hometown crowd in Cleveland. Like that's where he's going to do it. Now, whether or not the feud continues after it, I don't know. Or if Logan kind of disappears from TV for a while and maybe comes back, I don't know, the Rumble, I don't know, or maybe comes back sooner than that. But like, I have a feeling Logan's going to disappear for a little while unless they continue this, which I don't think they're going to. I'm curious to see where they go after this with LA Knight, but I would like to see LA Knight carry the belt for a while and go against different rivals. Even if he went against Escobar and they start that feud, I think it's something that Escobar can carry on, and at least it's a different angle than just, oh, right, we're doing LWO mix again. Like he needs something new, and I think LA Knight and him could generate this. And LA Knight against a heel faction, defying the odds. I know we've seen it with Cody and stuff like that, but I think it could work with this.
I like it. It makes sense. And I think there's been a lot of discussion about LA Knight and time and his age.
Mm-hmm.
And to your point, now's the time to strike while the iron's hot.
Yes.
So let's do this now.
I mean, that's the thing. And I know this has come up with Ben Allison a lot of times, and I've said this multiple times. DDP was 43 when he won his first WCW World title. I'm not saying that LA Knight should win the title. I mean, technically, you held the Impact World title before. But, I mean, you know, it's somebody that like the crowd's behind. Now, I'm not saying dethrone Cody and give him the belt. That's just insane to do that, considering the momentum Cody has right now. But you can give him a secondary title and let him run with it. See if he's able to maintain that momentum. See if he's able to keep doing it. Then you can always throw him a world title somewhere down the road. I mean, he's not geriatric at this point. He's 43, but he looks great. Yes. So he's not, age is a number. It doesn't necessarily mean that he's falling apart.
I laugh at, I mean, you look at another example of that, the Boogeyman. Yes. The Boogeyman lied about his age to get on Tough Enough and was going to win that show over Morrison. if not for the fact that they figured out what his age was. They still hired him.
Look at R-Truth is a perfect example. That man looks almost identical to when he debuted in 98, 99.
It's true.
Like,
That's
and
freaky.
he's still doing it. So, the fact that he's wrestled multiple generations of the same family, like, if you go down the line, is just wild.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those. What do you think about the U.S. title picture, really quick, Megan? Before then we.
Well, I have to be honest. A woman never discloses her age, but LA Knight is only a handful of years older than me. So I kind of resent when people bring his age up because, we grew up in that same time period where we watched Stone Cold, Triple H, The Rock, Rikishi, and stuff. And now we are the age that they were.
We're getting close to it, yeah.
But taking the risk of sounding like a heel, I'm going to get absolute enjoyment when LA Knight beats Logan in front of everyone he loves and cares for. Logan Paul made it clear that all his people are going to be there in his hometown. He got a special little parade set up for him after he wins. So it's going to be as heartfelt as Christmas morning to me to see LA Knight with that belt over Logan Paul. It's going to bring me much joy.
I'm 1,000% with you. I want to see more rain on that parade than we did see at the boat parade yesterday for the Olympic opening ceremonies. I want to see more rain on that parade.
Yes.
Than even that. Way more rain. 100%. But if you like wrestling content and you haven't already checked out our friends over at Next Level, you got to head over there. Go to nxconnect.me/Western Republic. All of our content across all platforms linked in one place. Not only that, there's a thriving wrestling community inside of the app. You can check out us, multiple other content creators. You will dig it. Absolutely no gimmicks, giveaways all the time. Totally free to sign up. Go check it out. Thank you so much. But let's keep it rolling when it comes to SmackDown. Most importantly, let me make sure the graphics here. And let's talk about Bianca and Jade. One of my favorite subjects when it comes to SmackDown, because this is the Power Rangers. This is the Avengers. This is the Justice League. This is all of the cool kids at one table, and they're likable. At the same time, you don't get that very often. Also, flying humans, I've always been a huge fan of. And if you're going to military press anyone, obviously humans not born with wings. Never been a fan of the aviary community. Birds, I'm anti-birds. That's just it's a Clark thing. But Jade made her fly last night.
She sure
over
did.
The head. See you later, kiddo. I mean, I can only throw a pillow so far, let alone a human being. I loved it. I love the call out. The unholy union might want to invest in some holy water against Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair, because this is one of those where I'm like, I can't wait for the match. Right. Because I want to see the destruction. You're looking at the two strongest forces in all of wrestling. And there's only two ways this can go. 2-time champs or one of the gnarliest put it on a poster matchups in the whole business. Is Jade and Bianca turning on each other down the road, not having the continuity. Either or, I'm in. I loved this last night. I honestly wish they got more time on the microphone. Megan, I got to get your thoughts on that segment because I was just blown away by it.
If there is any two people I would not want to be, is Alba and Isla, because not only do they have Bianca and Jade after them, but they also have Sonya, Shayna, and Zoe. And then on NXT, they have Jakara and Lash Legend. So right now they are public enemy number one. And between Bianca and Jade, I know they have a lot riding on them because they were recently tag team champions, and technically they was not pinned. So even though they lost their titles, they did not lose their titles. Um, but I just love how they present Jade's strength up there with Bianca's. And last night, it seemed as though these unholy duels keep taking Bianca and Jade as a joke. They're not taking them seriously. They don't feel like they could get their titles back. They kind of like laugh in their face. And they thought they had the upper hand on these two. They came out and they attacked them from behind. But quickly, as a pen dropped, Bianca and Jade, they turned the tables. And as you said, Jade yeeted her out of the ring effortlessly. So I think that promo itself kind of showed me that there is a very high chance that Bianca and Jade can well enough regain their titles. With that being said, I would love to see Bianca go back to NXT for a title shot. I would love to see Jade debut on NXT against Jakara and Lash Legend. I know that's something that they wanted. They spoke about it online. They wanted an opportunity with them too, and they didn't get it because they had lost their titles. But now we might have the opportunity for them to have that shot. But I don't want to ignore the fact that you now have Sonya and Shayna and Zoe, and they want titles too. They've been pretty much dominating Raw at this moment. So it's really up for grabs. I don't know.
I love the idea though you presented about NXT. The idea of Bianca and Jade going and winning these titles and then deciding we're going to be the traveling champions.
Yes.
And just the experience of Jade and Bianca carrying them for longer than we've seen in the past.
Right.
For Jade, I think is amazing, and it benefits both stars because I think they're in my easy top 5 women's wrestlers in the world, both for different reasons. Right? For very different reasons. Paired together, what you can accomplish out of this is so dang cool for the pro wrestling business. It's the route that I would go to. I'm 100% with you on. It makes the very most sense for them to get this win and then carry those belts around for a bit. Don't break them up just yet. I suggested that a bit when I presented the topic, but don't break them up just yet.
Right.
Because it's benefiting both. And comparing the strength when it comes to Jade and Bianca, I love because it's different. It's 2 different levels of athletes. Jade is brute strength. Bianca is explosive strength.
Yes.
Right? She's explosiveness. And that's fast twitch muscle. She is a all-American track star. Jade is a bodybuilder, and I mean that respectfully, right? That's Jade in the gym is moving weight. So for the visual of her hitting the military press as opposed to Bianca, I was like, yes, that is exactly what we needed. That is the exact right recipe for this. And I was stoked about it. I thought it was one of those segments I was like, oh, I wish that one had a little bit more time, especially just immediately following Logan and everything. And not that Logan's a huge deal, but it's like, right? Like card placement there would be like my only complaint about the segment. That'd be like the one caveat I might, if I had to like really nitpick, which I'm not trying to do. But let's get into our last segment of the evening. Speaking of segments that are going to be fun, So our world champion over on SmackDown in the women's division, Bayley, has been pinned by the number one contender herself, Nia Jax, teaming with the Money in the Bank holder. On the other end, plenty of angles headed into this matchup down the road. We've now got one over on Bayley when it comes to Nia. You've got Tiffany sitting there kind of watching, waiting, thinking about it. Nobody really kicks out of that bonsai drop. I'm wondering, after last night, Anthony, if it's possible we see a scenario where maybe a bonsai drop is landed in the Nia Jax and Bayley matchup. She gets leveled with a briefcase that gets cashed in. Because nobody seems to be kicking out of that maneuver, at least of late. Plenty of options here. I actually thoroughly enjoyed this too. Tag team psychology wise, laying out Michin on the ramp, and then you get the hot tag. All of that from an in-ring perspective. This was an underrated main event. We may not look upon it in hindsight as fondly as it deserves, because this advanced not just one story, but multiple. And I actually think it was better than it's been given credit for thus far. Anthony, though, I'm going to get your thoughts on it too, and then Megan's. But like, are you in agreement on that, or did you feel like they went wrong anywhere? Let me know.
No, I think, obviously they're trying to continue the story of Bayley and Nia, and of course, Tiffany is kind of in the wings of this triangle. Where will she or won't she stick her nose in this and cash in her briefcase and cost Nia? That's the question. The only odd one out was kind of Michin, which is a shame. She's a tremendous talent. She's been involved in multiple storylines, both on NXT and on SmackDown now. I just want to see her get elevated, because really she's just kind of being used to put people over at this point. She's the only odd person out here. Like, she's not going to have probably much of an impact at SummerSlam unless she, helps Bayley. If maybe Tiffany tries to get involved, maybe she comes down and prevents Tiffany from getting involved. I do think it's an entirely reasonable possibility that you've thrown out there, Clark, whether it's at SummerSlam or some other point. I could easily see Nia, getting hit in the back of the head with the briefcase. And Tiffany, cashing it in and taking the belt off of her. I definitely think that's a possibility. I think it's Nia's. I think Nia is the logical choice. If you're going to give anybody the title off of Bayley, I think Nia is the one. I mean, she's definitely earned it. We talked about last week, her run just as a whole since she's come back. It's a 180. This is not the Nia that left WWE when they let her go. This was not the Nia that was the, quote unquote, unsafe worker, according to the internet wrestling community. And this is not the Nia that, accidentally created the man. This is not the Nia that, said something when she fell on the ring apron. This is a serious competitor, Nia. This is the Yokozuna. This is like the dominant force. And I think audience have accepted that at this point, where it's like, oh no, she's earned this. Like, there was no complaints when she won the Queen of the Ring, like that. Like, she earned it. Like, and 100%, she has earned a women's title win. I wouldn't want her to win it only to kind of get screwed out of it by Tiffany by using the briefcase that immediately. I don't mind Tiffany eventually turning on her and doing it, but I really don't want to see Tiffany do that right then and there, because at that point, then you're like, well, now you want to see Nia completely destroy Tiffany at that point. And yes. I don't know if that's the direction you're going for when you're like, I gave Tiffany the Money in the Bank, gave her the win. Now she's running for her life because she needs to fear for her life by pissing off Nia Jax. That is not the position you want to be in.
No. I think that's completely fair, Anthony. And I'm in agreement on so much of that. Yeah, like right this second doesn't make sense for Tiffany Stratton. carrying that briefcase for a long time does.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I look at it. Megan, I got to get your thoughts on it, though. This is an interesting situation here. You have your world
Right.
champion pinned, which is, that was a non-traditional thing 15 years ago, right? Now we see it a little bit more often. But
Yeah.
that was, you weren't seeing champions being pinned 1, 2, 3 in the ring cleanly, basically.
Yeah.
15 years ago, it just wasn't the case. Do you think this makes you more or less confident that Nia takes the belt off Bayley is my first question. And then what are your thoughts on the cash-in scenario as well?
I think Nia is going to take the belt this week, next weekend, unless, like Anthony said, Mia comes out and she somehow prevents, Bayley from losing her title. But no, I don't see Bayley retaining, unfortunately. And there was a very significant part to the conversation that Nia and Tiffany had. And it was so significant, I had to replay it because I think a lot of people missed not only the instructions, but the warning that Nia gave Tiffany. And she told her that she is okay with Tiffany cashing in on Bayley. But she would hate for her to do it. Because she knows that her title reign will be short because SummerSlam was like right around the corner. And I think that was her way of saying, if you try to cash in on Bayley before SummerSlam, you're not going to keep that title. Mm-hmm. If you happen to take that title from Bayley, you're not going to keep it. I'm telling you, I'm going to take it from you. And I don't know if Tiffany understood that was a threat. Like that was a genuine bona fide threat. She is telling you that if you try to take that belt from Bayley, your title reign is going to be very short. And so I don't, the smartest thing for Tiffany to do would be to try to cash in after Nia. I do not think that is a smart move for Tiffany. The last person you want, on as an enemy is Nia Jax. So
yeah,
if I was Tiffany, I wouldn't cash in. Do not cash in SummerSlam. Just hold on to it. It's not smart, girl. You cannot take on that woman. Nia is built different. You haven't been trained for that. It's best Megan, to have her on your side.
You're spot on too, because taking the back seat does make the most logical sense. She's got to be afraid of Nia based on this storyline. That is a great point.
And listen, if she cashes in on Nia and angers her, the duct tape that she used on her briefcase, she's going to need for her body because Nia will break her.
Oh, yeah.
Nia would black out on Tiffany. And I mean, but she also kind of insinuated that she could easily challenge Liv. I don't know if you want to get in between that and this angry Australian woman right now. You might want to wait and see how that turns out, because having Nia mad with you and Rhea upset with you, like Tiffany, baby, that's not what you want.
That's dangerous.
Between a rock and a hard place. But also Tiffany could say, Dom told me to do it, and just use him as a shield.
But then she also threw Roxanne's name in the mix too. And honestly, I like Roxanne, but I think that would be a really interesting turn of events if we all are planning for Tiffany to take the belt from Nia, and instead she just decides to take it from Roxanne instead. I mean, that could happen at American Bash too if she doesn't cash in at SummerSlam.
That would be wild, but here's the only caveat I have on that is, so the women's Money in the Bank briefcase so far is 100%. It
Yes.
is batting 1,000 as far as cash-ins are
Cash-in.
concerned.
Yes.
I don't think Tiffany Stratton deserves to be the first failed cash-in.
You think she'll fail?
I think we need to tease that she's gonna.
Uh-huh.
So it's a combo here for me. Sorry, this is not to get too existential, but like for me, I feel like she's got to continue the 100% streak,
Right.
but make us feel like this is the best thing for the briefcase and her as a performer. In my eyes, is they've got to make us think that she's going to fail,
Right.
on whichever cash in she decides to do. If it was Roxanne and she's successful, I love NXT. I cover it every Tuesday. It's one of my favorite shows. And Roxanne Perez is an awesome champion. It just feels like a letdown by comparison to even if whether it's Rhea or Liv, or it's Nia or Bayley, the impact of that cash in, having us convinced this is finally the time that they do the failed one like they did on the other side. Because we're behind storytelling wise, and she pulls that upset, that moment's worth it. And I don't want to miss that. That's my only fear, Megan, because I agree with basically every single thing you just said.
Right.
But I'm just thinking about Roxanne, where I'm like, that would just feel like a little bit like Theory trying to, and he failed, but
for the
US title. Like,
here's the thing. Here's the thing you have to think about. Tiffany's a heel. All the women's champions are heels except Bayley. So is she going to cash in on another heel? And, if she did cash on Roxanne, you're like, well, who did she anger? Like, literally, they're getting everyone under the sun to challenger Jordan Grace. You got Julia in the wings. You got Stephanie Vakir in the wings. You got all these women in the wings that are like, it's the most heavy hitters of heavy hitters. And she's retaining, which is making her look phenomenal in the process. But you're like, really? You're going to throw Tiffany at her too?
That would be.
Yeah, well, they'll give Tiffany the opportunity to be a two-time NXT Women's Champion,
which is in its own right. That's a great point.
And technically, Tiffany didn't win the title off of Roxanne. Roxanne got injured, and Tiffany lost her title to Becky, and it just kind of kept going with Lyra until Roxanne came back. I don't know. I just feel like Roxanne, it will kind of like bring it up on Roxanne, because right now she doesn't see Tiffany as a threat, because she feel like Tiffany is too busy on the main roster. But I hope Roxanne understands she threw your name in the mix too, so she is eyeballing your belt as well.
I wouldn't be opposed to Tiffany floating on the shows of like teasing the potential cash because she's afraid of Nia and she's afraid of this. Like almost just tease it a little bit and then eventually you do it. I think that's the smart play.
I would like that. I would like to see Tiffany pop up on NXT.
Yeah.
I think that would be, just so that Roxanne could see, like, she wasn't just, blowing smoke. Like, she really meant, like, you're a target too.
And for lack of a better way to put it, just showing the, like, I still have this thing,
even though it's still
parading around with the briefcase. I've still got this.
Yeah.
Like, you never know. I think it's worth it for everybody involved in that situation, even if she doesn't cash in on Roxanne. Right. I don't mind a tease of she might. I think would be brilliant.
And keep in mind, NXT does have a secondary women's title. They could even tease that. I'm not saying to do it, but they could even tease that because now there's a second one on there.
A segment with Kalani, right?
Yes.
Just absolutely. That could be fun as could be.
Yes.
I mean, the possibilities are kind of endless. And what I like is, yes, we had the Drew thing, Money in the Bank. I don't want to say it got stale. I don't believe that, but it is cyclical. It's 1 year, and it can get to a point where it becomes too predictable, right?
Like the Rumble. The Rumble winner for the longest time until recently.
Until recently, they figured out the Rumble again. But Money in the Bank, they got right the Drew thing. I didn't love the execution. I wouldn't have done it exactly that way, but I understand. And we're focusing on this singular briefcase, right? We don't have two floating around on multiple brands.
Yes.
We're focusing on this, just the one briefcase. and Tiffany carrying it, which is to me the part that matters the most, and how she goes about doing it. We broke down so many good scenarios when it comes to that briefcase. I think we're totally dialed. We are at the end of the show, basically. It's a UFC, so I'm gonna do my one little selfish thing, and I'll give you my 2 picks for the 2 main events. First and foremost, they're both rematches. We got Tom Aspinall versus Curtis Blades for the interim heavyweight championship of the world. They've got 2 heavyweight titles floating around. This isn't pro wrestling. This is mixed martial arts, but I've got a weird feeling. Aspinall, he tore his ACL in that last one. Ended up basically being a no contest. I think he's going to dust Curtis. And I think on the UK side, you'll probably like that pick because you're not going to like my next one. In the main event of the evening, we got the 170-pound champion, Leon Rocky Edwards, against my Chicago brethren. Remember the name, Bilal Muhammad. The last time these 2 guys faced, Rocky poked him in the eye like he was Ric Flair. Got him in the cornea. Doctors, stoppage, no contest. Bilal Muhammad has beaten everybody at the 170-pound division except Rocky Edwards. And he was winning that fight when he got poked in the eye. I think tonight in Manchester, England, Chicago stands tall. Bilal Muhammad, your new 170-pound UFC world champion. Let's go. With that, that does bring us to the end of the show. Thank you, everyone that tuned in. If you haven't checked out all of the rest of our shows, I don't know what in the world you're doing. Sunday Night Spotlight will launch at the usual time. That's 2 o'clock Pacific tomorrow. That's 5 on the East Coast. That's in the middle of the night for y'all in the UK. The daily broadcast every single day, noon Pacific, 3 in the East. That's 8 in the UK. And of course, 9 a.m. in Hawaii. Everybody have an excellent Saturday. Cannot wait to talk to y'all soon on behalf of me, Megan, and Anthony. Have a good one. Let's go.